I know what you're thinking. Au poivre sauce belongs on steak. I used to also think that was the case, and it does belong on steak, but one day I woke up and I was like, why is nobody putting au poivre sauce on chicken? I love a creamy, buttery, garlicky pan sauce with chicken, and that's exactly what au poivre sauce is. And so then I went into the kitchen and I busted out some crispy chicken legs and I made a really quick au poivre sauce, and it turns out that it was maybe the best expression of au poivre sauce that I've ever had in my life, and I'm now more likely to eat au poivre with chicken than with steak. If you're a chicken lover and you're trying to stay away from steak or eat less red meat in your life, which is great, this is a perfect way to have your au poivre and eat your chicken too. I'm using bone-in skin-on chicken legs. That's what these guys are. You can also use chicken thighs, or you could do a mix of thighs and drumsticks, or you could do chicken breasts. The reason I'm not using chicken breasts here is that they have a tendency to dry out, and so this recipe yields a super tender, juicy chicken leg. So I'm also just like, I'm a dark meat girl. So 3 chicken legs, and I'm just seasoning them all over with salt. I'm doing this just moments before I'm going to sear them. But in an ideal world, you would season these 2 hours, maybe 4 hours before you're gonna cook, up to overnight. Overnight would be ideal, which will allow the seasoning to fully penetrate the chicken and you'll have very juicy chicken. So salt and pepper. The prep for this recipe is very simple. We're going to slice shallots, slice garlic, and we're gonna smash peppercorns. And then later we're gonna slice some chives, but that's it. Super weeknighty food here. When we talk about au poivre sauce, the poivre part of that refers to peppercorns, which are these things. It's a pepper sauce, and so those need to be prominently featured. And so the way that we're going to turn this into a crushed peppercorn is by putting it in a little Ziploc baggie, and then taking a rolling pin, you basically just want to crack them open, but the whole thing about a peppercorn sauce is that like you really do bite into this like crunchy bit of peppercorn, which is why we don't use a pepper grinder, because we want to keep the texture there. So you're not grinding it super fine. So this is what it'll look like after. So there's crushed black peppercorns, and now we just go crisp up the chicken and then we make the sauce. It's truly just the easiest. Okay, so we are preheating a large cast iron skillet. You wanna make sure you have something that's big enough that will fit all of your chicken evenly skin side down and they're not overlapping, so that we get maximum crisping of the skin. And then a couple glugs of olive oil. And we're gonna wait until we see just like barely first signs of smoke emanating from the pan. Okay, here we go. One trick that you can use if your chicken don't feel like they're laying really flat and they're not making enough contact with the pan is to put another heavy-ish skillet on top. And it's just like, you can even hear the difference there, that they started to sizzle because there's new points of contact between the skin and the pan. And just pressing it down like a panini. And then you can kind of move them around as you need. The other thing is that I like to start my skillet really high to get the oil hot, throw the chicken in, and then I turn it down to like medium, low, and let it really take its time crisping so that you get evenness and it's not like charred and blotchy on the skin. So I'm like over medium low heat right now. And then the other thing is always move your skillet around your burner, because there are hot spots on the burner that may be favoring certain chickens over other chickens. Now I'm gonna take a peek and see what's going down. It should always release easily. If it doesn't, don't push it. These need a lot more time. We're gonna give them the time they need. Okay, who wants to see what a crispy skinned chicken leg looks like?
I do.
Look at that.
Yeah.
You simply love to see it. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Crispy on one side. You do not need to cook the second side because it's going to get nestled back into the... Ah! Whoa.
Shots fired.
Oh my God, a little skin bubble popped. It's gonna get nestled back into the au poivre sauce and cook on the second side. So this is what we're looking for. Then we add our butter and our aromatics, and this is where we build the au poivre sauce. So a couple tablespoons of butter. Okay, I'm adding my shallots and my garlic. We're down at medium-low heat. I do not want to brown these. I'm just sweating them, as it is called, which just means like really gently sauteing them to mellow them out and sweeten the shallots without browning the garlic at all, because browned garlic can be bitter. I'm also gonna add my peppercorns at this point. And the peppercorns are toasting in the butter, so you're gonna smell it immediately and it's gonna get really spicy and peppery. And this is an important step in the recipe. So the reason that we add the black peppercorns into the butter at this stage and not later on, for example, is that we want the peppercorns to really bloom out in the fat. And so the fat of the butter is gonna help permeate the whole sauce with black pepper flavor, which is what gives it its au poivre-ness and its name. I'm also gonna season these now with salt. And then we're just looking for jammy and cooked down and not brown. Okay, so here's the special part of this recipe. I am adding several tablespoons of miso into the shallots and garlic. And miso is obviously not a traditional ingredient in au poivre. It's a Japanese ingredient, not a French one. But it gives this sauce the kind of like umami depth of flavor that you might expect from a steak au poivre sauce because of all of those steak drippings. And because we don't have all of that like funky beef fat dripping in here, I've added miso to compensate for it. And it just gives it a little je ne sais quoi. So the best way to get the miso incorporated is to then immediately add whatever cooking wine you're using. So I'm using sherry. That will help loosen up the pan sauce, and you can kind of like whisk and mash the miso right into it. So this is like a classic deglazing technique, which just means adding a liquid to a skillet with a bunch of drippings in order to help release them from the skillet and incorporate them into the sauce. So you can see now that the miso is starting to incorporate into this butter sauce. So now that our sherry has cooked off, and I can smell sort of the alcohol is burned off, I'm adding a half a cup of water. And that is going to give us a little bit of liquid for the chicken to braise in. So look at how loose this sauce is now. It's like kind of brothy and watery. That's perfect because now we're gonna add our chicken legs back into the skillet, this time skin side up. And we're gonna transfer the whole skillet to the oven so that the chicken can continue roasting. It'll stay crispy on the top. The bottom layer will cook in the au poivre broth beneath. And we'll finish it that way. 8 minutes. And then we'll take a look. Okay, it's been 8 minutes. Check it out. So yummy, jammy, schmaltzy, holy smokes. You'll see that most of the water has cooked off, like it's pretty dry, but the chicken needs like another 8 minutes or so in the oven. So if it does look quite dry at this point, you're just gonna add a little bit more water. So I'm gonna add like, I think a 1/4 cup, just to loosen it up again, to give it a little bit more broth and keep cooking it. Every pan and every oven is going to reduce the liquid at a different rate. So you kind of just gotta pay attention. And then we're going back in. Another 8 minutes. Ooh, mama. Okay, God, nothing more delicious than a burbling pan sauce. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this over here. This is what she'd be looking like straight out the oven. You can see that it is like schmaltzy and thick and reduced, and oh my God, so fragrant and black peppery. And I'm going to momentarily move the chicken out of the skillet, keeping it skin side up, because do we hear? That's crispy skin, and we don't want to lose that. Just so that we can finish this pan sauce. And normally you will see recipes call for heavy cream in au poivre sauce, but in this recipe I'm using crème fraîche, which is like a version of heavy cream, but is a lot tangier and brighter kind of. It's sort of like a mashup of heavy cream and sour cream. So we're stirring the crème fraîche right in. And we don't cook it at this point because we don't want to split the cream and have it get all oily, but you just stir it in off heat like this. And now we have like a real nice, loose, pourable au poivre sauce. And then I'm just gonna put a buttload of chives in here. And that's nice because we got a lot of creaminess and fattiness, and chives cut through it all. And then you can obviously pour this over, like onto a platter and put the chicken on it, but I usually just serve straight out of the skillet because why not? It's right here. Let me just nestle them back in. Okay, we're in the den. This is where we have our TV dinner. So this feels like a TV dinner because it was just that easy. 30 minutes, quick little pan sauce, and we're on the table. We're on the coffee table. Hey, look at juicy, nice juicy chicken. Perfect, no notes. So savory, so creamy, very savory. And perfect with chicken. And the skin is so crispy, listen to this. It's crispy chicken skin. You don't get crispy chicken skin on steak. I don't know why anyone ever started putting au poivre on steak. I think it belongs on chicken. What?
Let's kill you. There's a fly that's just on everything.
Do you want me to actually kill the fly or like
slice a fly
in the air?
I would give you so many fruit ninja points.
Video's over.